Your life ends here. I alone belong here. I am so very weary.
Nestled atop the cliffs that rise from the Sword Coast, the citadel of Candlekeep houses the finest and most comprehensive collection of writings on the face of Faerun. It is an imposing fortress, kept in strict isolation from the intrigues that occasionally plague the rest of the Forgotten Realms. It is secluded, highly regimented, and it is home. Within these hallowed halls of knowledge, your story begins. You have spent most of your 20 years of life within this keep's austere walls, under the tutelage of the sage Gorion. Acting as your father, he has raised you on 1,000 tales of heroes and monsters, lovers and infidels, battles and tragedies. However, one story was always left untold, that of your true heritage. You have been told that you are an orphan, but your past is largely unknown. Lately, Gorion has been growing distant from you, as if some grave matter weighs heavily on his heart. You have asked about his concerns as gently as possible, but your queries have been in vain. Your sole comfort is the knowledge that he is a wise man, and you know he will tell you when the time is right. Nonetheless, his silence is troubling, and you cannot help but feel that something is terribly wrong. Today, Gorion has appeared more agitated than ever, and now he has uncharacteristically interrupted your chores in the middle of the day, imparting hurried instructions for you to equip yourself for travel. He has handed you what gold he can spare, but given no clue as to why. Nevertheless, you now stand before the Candlekeep Inn, ready to purchase what you need for an unplanned and unexpected journey.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Eckylis.
If you insist.
I'm normally pretty well known for playing World of Warcraft, as that's something that I've been playing pretty heavy for many years. But before World of Warcraft, long ago, before MMOs took over the world and single-player games went by the wayside, there's this little game series called Baldur's Gate. By a company that was then pretty brand new called BioWare. Now this game was pretty much one of the most important RPGs in computer history at the time it was released, and for me was the first CRPG I ever played. Not counting Diablo because it's more of an action game. This was the first RPG I ever played back in the late 90s, which kind of dates me as being an old man. Not that old yet. But this is Baldur's Gate. We are set in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting called the Forgotten Realms. And where we are, as the prologue introduction kind of spoke of, is we're in Candlekeep, a big fortress of knowledge and wisdom that is heavily, heavily protected by its monks, and as it happens, your very own stepfather or foster father, Gorion. And this story begins with us at the entrance to the Candlekeep Inn, where we are awaiting to gear up for our journey into an unexpected world. Now, this is my character. He's an elf fighter mage. He's got some pretty good stats, which was about a 93 roll. I did cheat a little bit. As we can see, I'll show a couple ways that I kind of cheated. Normally, when you select a multi-class as a non-gnome, it would be fighter, mage, and you would be given just one spell, a level that you gain basically. Well, I'm a specialist mage. I cheated that in because that is just a limitation that I've never liked about this game series. I hate it. I feel like it just does not feel good. And as it is, although I'm not necessarily, as a fighter mage, primarily a mage, and this won't really matter quite as much until later in the series, it does suck that by the time you actually get to be able to use mage things more than just fighter things, you're very limited by just being a mage and not having any specializations or any kind of thing. And wild mage is actually a really powerful class by itself. If you're just a wild mage and go through the series, or a sorcerer, and maybe you romance another companion you can get thanks to the enhanced editions, who is a wild mage. The combination of sorcerer and wild mage together, for example, could basically two-man the entire series and devastate and trivialize essentially everything in the game by the late series. There's a few ways that I've modded this game, using the Baldur Gibberlings 3 mod that's been around for a long time and has improved a lot over the years. In Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you have sets of companions that actually do go from one game to the other. And one of the most frustrating things, I think, for a lot of people who were fans of Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2, is that in Baldur's Gate 1, companions that you can get might have what are apparently lower stat values here, but by Baldur's Gate 2, for some reason, you recruit them and they're better. Examples would be one particular. I'm going to try not to spoil too much in case you've never watched this or played this game, but one of the companions is a very burly man, and in the original Baldur's Gate 1, I think the best way that you would use him would be, as he is one of the strongest companions you can get, strength-wise, is a big two-handed, let's bash people in the skull. Well, the problem is, his constitution in Baldur's Gate 1 naturally is 15. And as a fighter in the front lines, 15 constitution, especially at a lower level, is bad. And really, low-level D&D can always be challenging for various reasons, like one bad dice roll, and especially back in this version of the game, and very much you will probably see that happen to me more than once. One bad dice roll, kaboom, companion dead. 15 constitution means I get one extra die roll, one extra +1 rather to my hit points every level. And a frontliner with, like, say 10 hit points, it's just not going to last very long, especially when you don't have a high armor class to boot. And as a two-hander, a two-handed wielder, you're certainly not going to have that. Well, in Baldur's Gate 2, that same constitution is actually bumped up to 16, and 16 doesn't sound a whole lot more than 15. And at level 1, 2, 3, maybe that's not so much the case, but by level 9, I mean, you're talking about a maximum of something like 18 extra hit points you get. And those 18 extra hit points for a frontliner, that does translate. It does carry. And even in the earlier part of the game, when you're fighting simple things like wolves or gibberlings, I don't know, is it gibberlings? I'll just say gibberlings. One crit, you might be able to survive it with 1 hit point left if you have 16 constitution, but with 15 constitution, maybe you're dead. So 16 makes a big difference, and there's other changes they did, like another very famous companion who happens to be one they decided to bring over in Baldur's Gate 3, had like a lower dexterity in Baldur's Gate 1. Well, she has a better dexterity in Baldur's Gate 2, so part of the add-on pack allows me to just use the Baldur's Gate 2 values right from the very beginning. I do that. I like consistency. I like things to make sense. So that's something else we did. It's kind of boring to talk about a bunch of stat stuff, but I figure it's good to at least get a little bit of a rundown of what we are working with here. And it's good to kind of plan that when you know a little bit about this game, because this game's really hard. Another way I kind of cheated, it's really a unique feature to Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale 2. You can export your characters And if you have a little bit of like XP, if you have like some items maybe you bought and equipped, you can export that and import that into a fresh game. And that's kind of what I did. I like having equipment because in my mind, like the way I think about it is that I couldn't imagine Gorion, leaving his ward with the ward being me, my character, leaving him with literally nothing. I figure we're going to Winthrop here in the inn to get some provisions that might help us on the road. I want to have some of that right from the beginning. I just think that makes sense. So I have some splint mail, which is pretty much the best armor I can get for a little bit. I got a composite bow, which you can only equip with 18 plus strength. Gives me some very good damage. Some Thaco, that's your 2-hit armor class 0. Something else, if you've played Baldur's Gate 3, if you've played later editions of Dungeons & Dragons after 2nd edition, this is kind of based on, it's kind of a pseudo 2nd edition, semi 3rd edition mishmash is kind of what their rules are like. But in 2nd edition and before, your armor, the lower your armor class, and the lower your hit, which is this number here, the better. The higher your armor class, notice I take off my armor, it becomes 6. So that means that I can get hit more easily. Now, I'm not a Dungeons & Dragons mathematician, specifically when it comes to like 2nd edition. I'm not going to pretend to be able to translate this number in a way that makes sense on dice. And I actually have the game set to show 2-hit die rolls and stuff like that. Just understand that the lower this number is, the better your life generally is going to be. Which does not happen to be the case for your hit points. The more hit points you have, the better. The better your damage numbers are, the better. Really weird that we decide to make your 2-hit, the lower your hit is, the better. Notice if I equip my strength weapon, which I have a pretty exceptional strength, this you'll notice is pretty different from later editions. Depending on the second die roll for your, which is a die roll 1 to 100, depending on what that number is for your fighter, and fighters, rangers, paladins, and barbarians, which are considered a fighter kit in this version of the game, the higher number this is, the more bonuses you get to stuff like hit, damage, as well as it adds to weight allowance. And weight allowance is a little different too because of the mod. It actually gives me a little more weight allowance based on my exceptional strength, which is the slash here after the 18. And, anything after 18, like if you have a 19 strength, if you're like a half orc or something, your ability to carry heavy stuff is going to be significantly better than base version. This is a quality of life thing. There's nothing more infuriating in these games than having a whole team of people that may not have much strength and getting some cool loot and being stuck in Durlag's tower with a red number because you're carrying too much, you can't frickin' move and have to throw things around, and that sucks. But yeah, so the more this number is on the side, the better certain bonuses are to your 2-hit and damage, which applies to your main weapon. And then your bow obviously takes off of your dexterity, which is the same thing as what you'd expect from Baldur's Gate 3. The higher our dex is, the better our overall damage and hit is going to be for bows. Baldur's Gate 1, bows are fantastic, and this is going to be the primary method by which I will be engaging in combat, especially at lower levels. Will be from the range, and that'll be pretty much the case for every character that's in my party. We won't really start sending people into melee until probably about level 2 or 3, maybe 4, because it's scary. You're rolling the dice to not die, essentially, whereas if you're from range, first of all, as a ranged attacker, you get more attacks per round. What this number means here is you basically get 5 attacks every 2 rounds. And with a short bow, you actually get basically 2 attacks a round. no, I think it's 3. It's 3 attacks around, I believe. If you are specialized, and I'm specialized in bows, but longbows specifically, which is why I'm carrying the longbow. You get more attacks as a ranged attacker early. You have better to hit as a ranged attacker, and you're also generally not getting hit in melee as an attacker from the ranged side, which is, as you will see, going to be the better way to play. Something I did as a wizard, one of the best spells you can get early on to give you a nice boost to your hit points. I have to take off armor to cast this. It's going to be to bring out my familiar. Now watch my hit points. My max hit points right now is 10. And now it adds, I believe, half the hit points of your familiar to your hit point bar. And this is going to sit in my pack
Your wish? Very well.
for the entirety of the series, basically. Now, some familiars actually have some pretty cool abilities that they can help you with, but in general, keeping your familiar out is asking for consequences, because if your familiar dies, I believe it's actually a permanent constitution damage to you, which is very much not good, and instead of boosting your hit points, you lose hit points, so that's not really what we're about. You can talk to your familiar, or in this case a fairy dragon, based on my chaotic good alignment is what I got. I'm just going to tell it, hey, I want you to come here, get in my pack, there it is. And now I don't need this spell memorized anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it. I will throw an identify spell in there. That might be useful later. It certainly will be, I guarantee it. Here we go. So right now we're at the beginning. We're here at Candlekeep, as was previously said. All the prefacing aside, let's go ahead and start.
Very well.
My hotel's as clean as an elven arse.
Winthrop is kind of described in media as kind of a
My
greasy,
hotel's as clean
kind
as
of
an elven arse.
jovial, affable sort of fellow. And as he says, well, hello there, young one. Come to visit your old pal Winthrop, have ye? Well, don't forget the 10,000 gold piece in book entrance fee as per Candlekeep's custom, don't you know? And I don't know why we kind of go into like a Minnesotan Canadian accent there, but I think that sounds pretty, don't you know? I'm from the Midwest, that's probably pretty terrible. You can pick whatever, doesn't really matter. My character isn't really the most charismatic sort of guy, but he's also not some dullard, boring guy either. You were always the big kidder, Winthrop. That gets funnier nearly every time I hear it. Well, perhaps not quite so often. Ha! Just having a bit of fun with you, my friend. Them monks may be walking about with poles in their nethers, but you know you are always welcome here in my sight. Gorion did well by you, he did. So is there anything I can do for you? Some drinks, a room to sleep, or anything to buy? Sure, what do you have? Now, not really. I've already gone through and bought a bunch, and obviously just a brief playthrough I did. Now you'll notice I have, I pre-bought some things. Now, anyone who's looking at this, maybe even if you've played this game before, are kind of like, why do you have a bunch of random stuff here? Short sword, a buckler. You know, you're set up to wield a quarterstaff and a longbow, and you clearly have the best of all those worlds right now. So why are you walking around with a bunch of stuff? Well, I'm metagaming because I played this game 10,000 times. I have the hours to prove it in Steam, and I have, before Steam ever even existed for this game as a platform, of the original CD foldouts that I have. I probably have another double the hours played on that version of the game as well. So I know that there's some companions that I have access to early that come rather sparsely geared. Now, actually, I think one of these is sort of redundant, but it helps to have this stuff because otherwise you'll have essentially naked characters running around, very poorly geared, no arrows, nothing to help them with range. And let me tell you, even though I could really bum rush and go straight to where I need to go after the initial introduction, you know, I like to be kind of a completionist and get everything done in the map I'm in while I'm there. And in this version of the game, you really can do that. I'm a left to right sort of person. I start to the left, I do everything on the left, and then I move on to the right, or, you know, north to south, south to north, whatever you want to call it. I want to move in the same direction as much as possible without having to go back and forth, and I like to make things as easy when I'm in those directions as possible. So I've got some gear ready for things that are not relevant just yet. I also have a bolt I have a bunch of bolts as well. That'll be for a quest that's coming up. I'm already pretty much set up now. In this game, thieving and doing stuff like that, you can't just sneak around like you can in like Baldur's Gate 3. Now, you're going to hear me mention Baldur's Gate 3 a lot because I'm assuming most people who are watching this have likely played Baldur's Gate 3 and are like, hey, what's Baldur's Gate 1 like? It's old. It's not well coded in a lot of ways to, especially for certain things like sneaking and doing things like that. In some ways, sneaking can be broken. In other ways, it's totally useless. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can sneak right behind somebody and start stealing things out from behind them. Well, in this game, for some reason, NPCs act like they have eyes in the back of their head when you're sneaking. And there is no sneaking, as you probably noticed. There's nothing like, I can't make my fighter mage sneak. You have to be like a rogue to do that. So I need to make sure that if I'm going to steal, there can't be anything in any line of sight anywhere. Now, if you can notice, there's nothing you can't see, and no one can see me. This little container right here, kind of a dresser drawers. Just tell my dude to bash that open with my staff. I can steal some stuff right out of it. Another thing I like to do in this game is I tend to like to play with a really high charisma, because even though it's considered by the community broadly a dump stat, it can lead to some kind of cool interactions. And normally, like,
No time to chit
if you
chat.
talk to this nobleman, you can actually tell him to kind of go upstairs. I don't remember if that was actually part of the original Baldur's Gate 1. I don't know if I ever even, like, literally talked to these people. But
No time to chit chat.
this guy talks to you. Step up to the heat, young one. You'll need a good fire to warm the chill stares of those monks. Most inhospitable they are. Isn't that so, lovey? Oh, yes, darling. They are most standoffish. And then you can talk to them. You can tell them, like, they lead a somewhat cloistered life here, so they are unaccustomed to many visitors. You're perhaps a bit colorful compared to what they're used to. That's probably what I would suffice for. But if you tell them something to, like, oh, I would not let it concern you, milady. Perhaps they are not used to wealth such as yours. You are quite wealthy, are you not? Bring a lot of expensive jewelry with you. If you say that as a lower, like, I think pretty much like sub 16, sub 17 charisma, your response is going to be less than pleasant from them. They'll be threatening to call the guards. But if you have more than that, like 16, 17 charisma or above, they actually will go upstairs, and I think in a specific chest you can burgle. There's an extra reward in there for you. It's not much. It's just like extra gold type of item. Gold items that are worth gold in this game can be worth a whole lot, and any amount of gold you get early is a huge boon, as it probably will be noticeable as we go along. I can't really do that as this character. I could show you kind of what they would say, but I'll just tell them, you know, they live a somewhat cloistered life here, so they are unaccustomed to many visitors. You're perhaps a bit colorful compared to what they're used to. Colorful? Dear, perhaps we should dress a little more plainly to fit in. It's worth a try, my dear, although our clothes may only be the half of it. They certainly couldn't react any worse than they have. I thank you for the suggestion, Eckylis, and for putting it tactfully. Good eve to you. Well, how nice of them.
No time to chit
Nah,
chat.
I can't talk to him again. These monks are just basically tutorial characters that you can speak to. Literally will tell you certain aspects of the controls, like how do I use stairs, doors, leave a building, and then this one over here says something else.
Hello, child.
Oh, how to buy things, sell things, renting rooms. There's also an achievement on the Steam version and probably GOG, I'm sure. I don't use the GOG version or other media. I'm a Steam guy. There's actually an achievement for talking to every one of these. So if you want an easy peasy achievement, find every tutor in Candlekeep. They're pretty easy to find. And talk to them. In the meantime, there's this fellow right here. If you hold tab, by the way, you can see like the names of things. You can also see like interactable environmental objects light up, and these are usually like containers. Maybe they're traps you can disable if you're a rogue, for example. Thief is what it's called in this version of the Dungeons & Dragons. It's really helpful. This was not in the original Baldur's Gate, so holding tab would not have done that. Baldur's Gate 2, I believe, is what added that function. Needless to say, it's very nice. This man's name is Firebead Elvenhair.
So hard to find.
Ah yes, I'm back within the hallowed halls of Candlekeep. With this iron crisis upon us, the trip from Baragast was more hazardous than I care to relate. You're Ryan's ward, aren't you? My, you have come into your own. If you would permit an old man jealous of youth to say so. I left an identify scroll with Tethtoril in the inner grounds. He should be done examining it by now, so if you could fetch it for me, I'd be grateful. So this is actually generally going to be your first quest you get, which has you going to find some dude named Tethtoril in the inner grounds. And he'll give you an identify scroll. Now, you might have noticed I happen to have identify learned. That's because I stole that scroll in a different playthrough and learned it because I'm a scumbag. So that's what I did. That's how I have that. Pretty cool. Now, there's a really cool Easter egg. If you keep clicking this guy,
So hard to find
30 total
decent
times, so I'm up to
folk
3.
nowadays. So hard to find decent folk nowadays. So hard to find decent folk nowadays. So hard
15.
to find decent folk nowadays. So hard 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 to find decent folk nowadays.
I have talked to him too much. You have to talk to him 30 times.
So hard to find decent folk
And he'll throw you
nowadays.
300 gold.
So hard to
Let's reload.
find.
Very
I
well.
want that gold. Give me that gold, Tethtoril.
So hard to find decent folk nowadays. 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 So hard to find decent folk
There.
nowadays.
Alright, there it is. Now what I'm using to skip like dialogue so I don't have
hard
to
to
keep
find decent
moving down here. I
folk
use my space
nowadays.
bar. You keep pressing that, that'll give you the ability to skip through some of that.
All right.
Here's the upstairs. Not really much going on. Just a bunch of stuff you can burgle out from under people's noses. I just like getting all the items I can get. In this version of the game, the Potion of Clarity. This potion will maintain clarity and order from encroaching chaos and insanity. I could read all this. Really, all you really care about is this portion. Stats. Prevents feeble mind, confusion, fear, and charm. Now, there's not a point in the whole series where that is not amazing. Because there's lots of creatures, casters, things that make you confused. And in this version especially, there's certain places that you can encounter pretty early where charm is a problem. Charm can be the bane of your life. I'm an elf. Charm is really not a thing for elves. Let me see. Can I actually see? I cannot. As an elf, you have a very significant saving throw is what they call it. Basically what a saving throw is It's like a bonus against certain status inflicting things. You get a really significant bonus, something like a 90% resistance to charm, and I think you're completely immune to sleep, which is awesome in this version of the game. These potions of clarity are basically gold by themselves. You want this to make certain encounters later easier. Some classes are actually really exceptional against those kinds of effects. If you're a berserker, probably it's considered singularly probably one of the strongest classes, the top 3 or 4 strongest single classes in the game. As a berserker, you have the ability to just blast through enemies. You are resistant to pretty much every status impairing situation when you berserk, and then you also get bonuses to hit and stuff like that. It's fantastic. There's also more in here. This chest is only unlockable if you have a rogue with 60 plus open luck. I don't think you can do it at any lower than that. If you can, feel free to leave a comment below, but in my experience, 60 is the minimum, and even at 60, I've failed many times to unlock this as a rogue. As I am not a rogue, it's irrelevant. This you can break open, but this guy here is standing and staring right at it. So nothing I can do in the world will allow me to get into this without him calling the guards. And in fact, if I interact with him, he gets a little hostile the second he encounters you. First he seems kind of okay. He's like, "Yes, may I help you?" "Well, my apologies. I have been knee-deep in the tomes of the keep all day, and I am in quite the fog as a result." "Oh, indeed. Such a wondrous depository it is. I have returned on many an occasion, much to my banker's dismay, and have not even scratched the surface of the collection here. Would that it were so for all of my noble brethren. I fear many come to the keep merely to proclaim that they did. I suppose it makes them appear more intelligent. Those simple quizzing places, the majority of them securely about the chimp level." I'm not really sure if this is supposed to be a sentence. "I suppose that it makes them appear more intelligent. Those simple quizzing places, the majority of them... simple quizzing places, the majority of them securely about the chimp level," referring to their intelligence. "I am sorry, I tend to ramble. Good eve to you." Normally this guy is kind of a jerk. He doesn't really like you, as I'm sure most people wouldn't, just appearing in your little inn room, which has no doors for some reason.
Away with you, beggar!
"What? I certainly hope there's an explanation for this intrusion. Explain yourself." "My apologies, I must have got the room numbers mixed about. Dreadfully sorry." "Ahem. Yes, well, just don't let it happen again." "Yeah? What are you gonna do about it?" "Yeah, that's what I thought." Yeah, we won't be doing that. But these guys like to blow hard until they have an arrow in their gullet. Alright. We move on. Our flights of fancy, our murderous tendencies. We're a chaotic good fella. We're not going to be doing that. As I said earlier, you can find the monks pretty easily. You get an achievement for finding them. This is the inner grounds. The inner grounds of Candlekeep are pretty sparse except for some very key figures, one of whom is the subject of our quest for acquiring a certain scroll, but several specific NPCs here.
"The Lord of Murder shall perish, but in his doom he shall spawn a score of mortal progeny. Chaos will be sown from their passage, so saith the wise Alondo."
Okay. These guys are the Chanters of Candlekeep, and the Chanters of Candlekeep spend their days in the courtyard of the inner grounds of Candlekeep talking about the prophecies of Alondo as they are about to come to fruition. And Alondo was an ancient scribe, and if I'm not mistaken, the founder of Candlekeep in days of yore at this point in the universe. who wrote a lot of prophecies, and a lot of which came true. These guys, as it happens, are not just here chanting about any nondescript prophecy. What they have to say has dire ramifications for not just the better part of the Sword Coast, which is the region we're in, but as it happens, spoiler alert, for the story that you yourself are taking part in. And if you played Baldur's Gate 3, you're probably aware of what that story is. If you've gotten deep into the game, you've probably encountered certain people that have to do with that story. But each individual one of these chanters, this is the head chanter here. Each one of these chanters are different voices. I don't really know why we have different directions, but they serve as different voices for different parts. So this guy is talking about the Lord of Murder shall perish, but in his doom he shall spawn a score of mortal progenies. Chaos will be sown from their passage, so saith the wise Alando. These lines will appear multiple times throughout the series, and if I'm not mistaken, also appear in a place in Baldur's Gate 3, along with some of what these guys had to say. Each one of these have their own version of the prophecy to speak.
In the year of the turrets, a great host will come from the east like a plague of locusts. So saith the wise Alando.
When conflict sweeps across the dales, the great lizards of the north shall descend with fire and fury. So saith the great Alando. When shadows descend upon the lands, our divine lords will walk alongside us as equals. So saith the great Alando.
This particular part of the prophecy, which is very important, this talks about how our divine lords will walk alongside us as equals. Something like 18 to 20 years prior to the events of Baldur's Gate 1, a very significant occurrence happens in which the gods of the pantheon of Forgotten Realms are banished to the lands as mortals for trying to basically steal something from the overgod Ao. As a result, many gods die and many gods rise, among which one of the gods who does die is the Lord of Murder. Spoiler alert, his name is Baal at that point in the series. Baal, the Lord of Murder, shall perish. That's who dies as part of this. Other important gods die, of course, but that is the most important part of this story that's most relevant to us at this time. After the events of the Time of Troubles is what they call that. The gods their divinity is restored. Some new gods take the place of other gods. The god who actually does take the place of Baal, who took his pantheon, is Cyric. Cyric is a very crazy-ass god who will be relevant to our story later on in this series.
The worm shall wander the earth, and such a pestilence will follow in his wake that all that know of his passing shall be struck down by the plague. So saith the wise Alando.
Okay, so there you go. Those are the chanters of Candlekeep. Right now I'm looking for Tethtoril, and then we will make our way to other ventures in these austere walls, as the introduction says. Now, this game is made up of pre-rendered scenery. It's actually very gorgeous, but from what I understand, the development of this was very difficult on BioWare, and really extremely time-consuming to make kind of what appears to be really handcrafted, hand-drawn things. Now, in Baldur's Gate 2, they actually get more tech. Some of the rendering they do is more 3D, which is probably simpler. But this is like 2D backdrops with some occasional 3D assets. Really, really intense stuff. but really, really cool for a game made in 1997, let me tell you. This is absolutely really dated today, but if you go back, you know, the year right now is 2024, February 2024. If you go all the way back to 1997, which was an astounding 27 years ago, 27 years ago, this is absolutely tip-top beautiful.
Hey, it's me, Emmoen.
I'm surprised that stuffy old Orion let you away with your studies and chores. That old fiddle-faddle. I snuck off too. Old Puff Guts Winthrop was looking for me, but I've got all day to do his chores. You have time for a story today? No, I can tell you don't. What have you been up to? I'm sorry, child, but I am not to tell anyone where I'm going. I must go. You should not tarry about either. Winthrop will want the beds turned down after you are done in the stables. I love this dialogue. I think it's the cheesiest dialogue because, well, two things. Emmoen is someone your character grew up with basically in diapers. You're both essentially the same age as far as the game is concerned. Any difference in age is extremely negligible. But, funnily enough, as I am an elf, 20 years old for an elf is essentially a baby. They mature very slowly in comparison to humans, and live for multiple hundreds of years most of the time, assuming nothing extraneous happens to them. Emmoen's an adult at this point, such as she is, and she'll be very important throughout the story. So calling her a child, very funny, and I think she'll point it out here in just a second. If you say so, you sure picked up a lot from old Gorion. He never tells it straight either. Good luck on your trip, good luck with whatever you're doing. Wait! What do you know of my journey? Gorion has said little to me and less to anyone else. Oh, I know, old stick in the mud that he is, all worried about nothing. I'm sure. Better go now, 'cause you've got a long ways to travel. Not that I would know. Especially since I didn't peek at old Mr. G's private letters. No, sir. Better go now. Bye-bye. That's Emmoen. She will definitely matter more. And here is our wayward Tethtoril. Firebead has sent you to me, hasn't he? Very well, return this scroll to him. But then you must hurry and speak with Gorion. He is waiting for you in the steps of the central library. I assure you, child, it is a matter of greatest urgency. Now, Tethtoril, I don't think he has an overly large part to play in like the greater Forgotten Realms, like non-Baldur's Gate game. But as it happens, this dude is actually a big deal. At least in terms of what his powers are, and that he's actually literally watched over by like 3 different gods of knowledge. So he's a big deal. And if I tried to be a smartass and attack Mr. Tethtoril and piss him off, well, that doesn't turn out too good. And if you die, what the hell? Turn to ash. Well, that's unfortunate. Now, you might have noticed... Aw, oh, man. Okay, whatever. Oh, hey, there's a watcher right there. Now, if you've noticed, you might notice that I'm stopping the game and that I'm giving commands. This game is kind of an interesting game in that it was developed as like at first it was going to be like a strategy game, because at the time this was made in '97, it was sort of the height of strategy games in the history of PC gaming. And BioWare thought that's what they were going to do, but then they switched pace and decided to make an RPG, but they kept a lot of the base strategy game engine in there. What you have in this version of Dungeons & Dragons is, it's not turn-based. Combat is very much real-time, but you can kind of make it pseudo-turn-based by using pause and play is what they call it. And it's honestly really necessary to slow things down. There's later parts in this game, and it doesn't take long to get to those later parts even, honestly, where if you're not using pause to your advantage and you're just running around trying to do things in real time, there's other players that have done it, but it makes this game so hard, unbelievably hard. trying to make sense of everything that's happening around you and just getting blasted when you're not expecting it. So we have the identify scroll from Mr. Tethtoril. We're going to talk to Mr. Firebeat Elvenhair and give it back to him. I am glad to see that age has not hardened your heart towards an old man such as myself. I'll take all of your identify scrolls. I have a great use for those types of scrolls. Here, allow me to cast a little spell on you. It will protect you from any evil that you might meet tonight. Now, protection from evil. I actually feel like, especially in this game, but even later, this is a very underrated spell. The spell is supposed to basically give you, in D&D terms, some protection against certain things evil creatures do, but in actuality, it gives you, although it doesn't reflect here, it actually gives you an extra bonus to your saving throws, I believe, and it gives you an extra -1 to your armor class as well, against everything. That, I cannot stress enough how powerful that is. And later in the game series, it also protects you from the sight of certain summons that are very hazardous to your health. So it's really good to have protection from evil. Unfortunately, the only type of characters that can cast it are paladins and clerics, and probably as we go through this game, that's not going to be something I'm going to have in Baldur's Gate 1 too much. And I'll explain that when I get to that point. But for now, that's pretty freaking nice, having protection from evil. I'm actually... as you also notice, I also got a healing potion. Again, these are like gold at this point in the game. I mean, this thing can restore 9 hit points. That's over half my HP.
My
It's pretty
hotel's
huge.
as clean as an
I saw this
elven arse.
necklace. I think I got it from upstairs. Very well. Now, the best way, in my opinion, for simple efficiency's sake, to go about, the whole left to right thing that I explained earlier, in this part of the prologue, you can explore. Normally in the base game, you won't be able to see anything you haven't actually explored. But again, the mod pack I have actually sets cities to be explored. And really, considering this has been your home your whole life, the idea that you don't know what is going on anywhere else that you can't immediately see is kind of ridiculous.
What would you have me do?
This place is something that you know. So I'm perfectly fine with knowing all of this. Another tutor, some gold. For some reason, you can steal from these barrels. Just reach in, steal some gold, no one cares. Let's go to the barracks.
If you insist.
And then in here, you have a kind of patrolling watcher, and then you have this guy, Fuller.
I should have joined.
Ugh, what a mead-filled night. That hole is just too much. Poor Sap had to go man the gate this morning, too. I don't know how he does it. What can I do for you anyways? I was just wondering if you had any errands to run. I'm a quest guy, alright? Give me a quest. I want some loot. I want some experience points, or XP for short. I want it all. Errands? Yeah, actually. I need a coral crossbow bolts. If you can get some off of Winthrop at the inn, I'll reimburse you. Oh, very well. There'll be a few coins in it for you too, so you can start giving me the look. Well, guess what? I got me some bolts.
I should have joined.
Here you are, you little money grubber. Put a few gold pieces in your purse. 50 XP? Heck yeah. 10 gold. Now, since I'm a multi-class, you don't, in this version of the game, in this version of Dungeons & Dragons, you don't gain XP for multi-class one at a time. Your XP splits between both of the classes you are a multi-class of. This is not the same as dual classing. Dual classing is different, and I'll explain that maybe at some point when that's relevant. But as a multi-class, I've gained 100 XP roughly so far in this, and it's split 25-25 because it's 50 per quest. It's split 25 and 25 across both my levels ×2, because I've done 2 of those quests, and that is 65 per class. In Baldur's Gate 1, being a multi-class is super powerful because the levels you gain by the end of this game, being a double class basically, you're only like 1 level shy of any single class character in the game, except for like a thief. It's a little different for thief. They actually gain XP much faster, bards, thieves do, than any other class in this game. Mages and fighters, paladins, rangers, they take a lot longer to level solo. But if you're leveling them at the same time as the same guy, by the end of Baldur's Gate 1, you're actually super powerful. In Baldur's Gate 2, it takes a long while to really feel that power, because by the time you're around level 10, 11, 12, you're really more like level 9, level 10, and other characters like 2 levels higher than you. You do feel that, especially as a fighter. By level 13, you get the last extra attack you get. So not getting your 13th level in fighter, it hurts, to say the least. However, by the end of Baldur's Gate 2, being a multi-class is the generally accepted most powerful version of the game you can be, aside from maybe being a sorcerer or a wild mage solo. Those classes, as said earlier, are a little insane. Now, the bolts, or I'm sorry, the sword that we're trying to get is in this container, and there's also an antidote. Now, this antidote is not here for no reason. This isn't just random gear. We're gonna grab it, and you'll see what that's for a little bit later here. Not much later, I promise. We're going to continue our explorations. We're just going to look through containers. And in general, for some reason, in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, random containers strewn about the world are kind of just little loot pinatas for you.
All right, all right. Blade with your name on it.
This guy's name is Carbos, apparently. What a name. Hey there, you're Gorian's little whelp, aren't you? Yeah, you match the description. You don't look so dangerous to me. That I am. Do I know you? No, I don't believe you do. I'll not be here long, so don't matter. You'll not be here long either, so it matters even less. Just thought I'd have a look at you. Pretty face, but I don't see what the fuss is about. No matter. I deliver your skull, and I'm set for life. Yo, dog, what? This guy's trying to kill me. Well, he just took a club to the face, basically. Unfortunate. So as I said earlier, you'll see that attack rolls are listed here. Evidently, my hit with a quarterstaff is good enough to just blast him, rolling just a natural 10 plus 3, which is my hit modifier apparently. Even though this is plus 2, whatever. And I hit him. Now, there's more than just your own modifier. Maybe his dexterity is low, so he gets a negative value to his armor class. It's probably why I hit him so easily. At any rate, this guy serves as your tutorial to combat. I blasted him. 11 damage. Boy just got smoked. 20 XP. Split evenly, 10 and 10. Nice. There's nothing else here. Guess I can steal this dagger and sell it.
Very well.
Now, killing this guy, you have another monk approach you.
Something on your mind?
His name's Karan, I'm guessing, or Karen. I heard shouting, Eckylis. Are you all right? He's dead, whoever he was. He lunged at me with a knife. Oh, Karan, what is happening to this place? It's not this place, child. It's you they're after. Gorian is waiting on the steps to the central library and wants you to go to him as soon as you have bought what you need at the inn. Oh, Eckylis, I have been your tutor for so many years, and only in this moment have I come to doubt that my teachings have been enough. Go to Gorian, child. It is safe for you no longer. Well, thank you for letting me know that. Homeboy just attacked me with a frickin' knife.
Our rules are very strict.
The Gate Warden. This guy basically serves as the warden for the better part of this keep. He's kind of the keep guard. Soon be gone, will ye? Aye, Gorion asked me to teach you a wit about the finer arts o' mass combat afore you leave. Can I pique your interest in it, Eckylis? Sure. Good then, child. 'Tis one thing to maintain control of yourself in the heat of battle, but 'tis quite another to maintain one's authority over a group. I've asked the illusionist to run through a few simulations for you down in the storage cellars. Just follow me this way and I'll unlock the door for you. Now, this is a great tutorial to learn how to do fighting and stuff like that. You can't die down here. Nothing can hurt you or anything like that. You can attack things infinitely and they can attack you infinitely until you eventually beat them. I'm not going to do that because it's kind of really long for a tutorial, and it can repeat for a long time until it finally just ends after so long. I decided to accept it because otherwise, if you say no to him, he's kind of a jerk.
Strict.
And I don't really care to deal with that. This is kind of like a medic thing.
Wisdom is
And this
only
priest of
possessed
Ogma,
by
Ogma's the
learned.
god in Faerun. He's the god of knowledge. And Ogma is kind of the patron god of Candlekeep. This guy gives me a potion for free.
These walls
So are you
contain
sick?
the
You look rather
world's
healthy to me,
knowledge.
but you never can tell. Do you need any potions or such things? Yes, that would be nice of you. Alright then, take this potion. Man, I wish everyone just gave me potions just by looking at me. And this little thing right here, this also has another potion. I'm pretty sure I should be good to steal. Good. We run. Look at this. 3 potions. I'm making out like a bandit.
If you insist.
Here's Mr. Hall. Depending on your charisma, and I think actually if you're a female, you actually have a different interaction with him. I have a 10 charisma, which is neither amazeballs or bad. It's just kind of right in the middle. My interaction with him initially is pretty simple. Hey kid, I woke late this morning and left my sword in the barracks before going on duty. If you want to get it for me, it's in the chest at the foot of my bed on the right side of the barracks. The barracks being where Fuller, that guy that we gave the quiver of bolts to, is. Quick now, before the gatekeeper or the gate warden catches me without it. You'll also find an antidote there. I think Dreppen needs one for old Nessa. Well, we already grabbed that. Alright, so he gives us the quest. Now this guy. Now look at this, right? You kidding me? Took your sweet time, didn't you? Grind's a fool for trying to bring you up right, and you can tell him I said so too. If I didn't know any better, I'd say this whole iron crisis is the result of twerps like you wandering off of people's swords. Here's 10 gold pieces. Now get out of here. I'm on duty. Now, that's just really thankless, isn't it? If you have a high charisma, and again, I think if you're a female character and with not even that high of a charisma, he'll have a much more positive reaction to you, which is nice. This guy's a jerk, though. Now, something he did say, though, that is of use in the midst of this dribble, is something about an iron crisis. I'm going to talk to another watcher. There's watchers all throughout this keep. They all have essentially the same dialogue. And the more you talk to them, you can get random tidbits about what's happening around you. The Iron Crisis is the central plot point, at least as far as you're aware of at this point, that is happening in the outside world that's affecting everyone along the Sword Coast. Let's talk to this guy.
I should have joined the army.
Winthrop has kept his prices as low as he could, but I expect that to change soon. It's been weeks since a trading caravan has made it here. Okay.
I should have joined.
Hey there, kid. Nothing to see here. All right.
I should have joined.
It is a good thing we are not called upon to defend Candlekeep more often. I have a cousin in Nashkill that sent a word of an iron shortage that is beginning to cripple their local guards. Now, we've actually kind of already heard a couple of cities referenced by a couple different NPCs. One mentioned Baragost, and another now, this guy's mentioning Nashkill. Well, they're kind of along the same road leading south along the Gold Road, if I'm not mistaken, that leads south towards the Sword Mountains, I believe. We'll find out later. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically the border of another area of the Sword Coast. We're in the Baldur's Gate portion. Baldur's Gate's sort of the big deal here, and down south is the country that is not very happy with Baldur's Gate right now, and there's kind of tensions happening between these two great powers right now. Will be much more important later in Baldur's Gate, specifically Baldur's Gate 2, but spoiler alert. But right now, it's just background information. This guy again mentioning something about an iron shortage.
I should have joined the army. I should have joined the army.
Thankfully quiet here today as usual. I hear there are problems outside. There's something about an iron shortage. Okay, again. We're talking about an iron shortage, iron crisis. Winthrop has kept his prices as low as he could, but I expect that to change soon. It's been weeks since the trading caravan. I think you already said that. That's cool. I think there's one more thing. Aha! I was in one of the great spires of the keep last night and saw the strangest sight. The horizon was aglow for a time, as though many a man carried torches in the distance. Usually there are only merchants on that path, though never at night. Bandits, perhaps, but so many.
I should have joined the army.
I think that was all the things
I should have joined the army.
that a watcher can say.
I should have joined the army. I should have joined the army.
But there's some background information for us now regarding what's happening at the time we are at, which is, I think, the year 1374 Dale Reckoning.
By Moradin's hammer!
Reaver, this little dwarf guy. I thought I asked you to clean the rats out of this building yesterday already. Hot to it. Get in there. Alright, before I do this, I am going to make sure my AI script thing is on, because this makes this a little less annoying and tedious. Into the storehouse we go. And these rats, a very classic early RPG trope, is an insignificant enemy that we must dispense with. Now, you notice probably that I attacked the holy crap out of them super fast. I don't really know when this happened in the game engine, but I think it happened with the enhanced edition. For some reason, with a ranged weapon, when you kill something, you get an extra attack, and it doesn't, there's no, cooldown on that, basically. If you're like an MMO player, you know what a cooldown on an ability is. There's just, it can keep happening. You keep killing, you keep attacking. Kind of wild. It's nice because that makes this less annoying. If you do it with a melee weapon, however, your melee weapon does not behave like that. I'm not really sure why. Yes, kill them like the rats they are. A glorious battle unlike any this world has ever seen. Here's 5 gold pieces. Don't spend it all in one place. Alright, 50 more XP. Let's go. Jondalar.
Hey,
Hey there, Eckylis. I see you're up early this day. Well, your father, Gorion, has asked me a strange favor. Seems like he wants you to learn some fighting and asked me to be the teacher, so I hope you brought your staff with you. Now he's going to explain basically how this works out, and then he also mentions that there is a little surprise that he's got for you, and he also tells you about Spacebar. All you need to know basically is things that have red circles around them means they're hostile to you. See? And here's our surprise. Watch this. I'm going to shove an arrow up the surprise's face. Okay, there we go. Wow, you're quite a fighter. I think Jondalar was right when he said you didn't need any practice. You should go talk to the gate warden if you want some experience in fighting with a group of people. You can find them just south of here. Out there, it can be pretty important to know how to fight with your allies at your side. Well, again, we're referencing another potential, we're referencing yet again the potential tutorial you could do. Again, very helpful. Priests in different towns are pretty nice. They can give you the ability to buy potions. They can identify things for you. Potions, stone to flesh scrolls, which do have quite a use. They can heal you. They can resurrect dead characters. You can donate for some reputation gains. Where in the world is my reputation? There it is. The maximum reputation is 20. The lowest reputation is either a 0 or 1. And starting at 3 reputation and below, I believe anyone who's of good or neutral alignment in your party will say sayonara and leave you, potentially even attack you. And also, bounty hunters will be called to dispense with your life, which you can defend against, but I'm a good guy. My goal is going to ultimately be trying to max out my reputation. Other effects of your reputation in the base game can prohibit you from doing certain quests. Maybe if you have a really high reputation, you're talking to kind of a scummy guy. Maybe they don't really want to deal with you because you're apparently a goody-goody. The reputation system's super clunky. It's really illogical, and I'm really, really happy that RPGs have largely never copied this terrible system. Furthermore, the higher your reputation is, the better your store prices will be for you, both selling and buying. That's nice. That's the lowdown on a rather clunky mechanic. It is what it is. This is a game in 1997. It is what it is. Hi, Dreppen.
What do you need?
Flydia left one of her books in here again. It's in the hay there, beside the cow. If you could run it over to her and then come back, I've got some plans for you. Well, I'm a left to right guy. Well, in this case, I'm going to go right to left, as you'll see.
What do you need?
So we'll do that in a second. We talked to him again, and now we get his quest. Nice day, ain't it? Too bad Nessa, the cow that's just kind of nonchalantly sitting there, ain't enjoying it, though, her being sick and all. I need to get her one of them potions of antidote off of Hole. He stayed up drinking last night and got hauled out of bed. hauled out of bed to man the gates early this morning, so I bet he's got a few of them lying around somewheres. Alright, well guess what?
What do you need?
I got your potion. Heh, you're a wonder, you are. Stick with me and we'll go far. Well, okay, stick with me and we'd probably never leave the walls of Candlekeep, would we? They say the bandits out there aren't after gold and gems anymore, but just plain old iron. It's one of them whatchamacallits, paradoxes or whatever. It's dangerous, so you want to wear some good solid plate and carry an axe that would make Tempest jealous. Tempest is the god of war. He's a pretty big badass. But rather than protecting you, it just makes everyone want a piece of you, right? Given my druthers, I guess I'd rather stay right here. Let's see what Nessa has to say. Man. Okay. Ouch! I mean moo. Hey. Now, in this game, if you ever played like classic strategy games like Warcraft 2, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head if like Command and Conquer worked like this too. If you like click on units several times,
If you insist.
they might have some annoying, like I'm annoyed sort of dialogue to say, or some funny dialogue. Your characters that you can get, and I'll kind of show you that as we go. They have that too. Apparently, so do cows.
All right.
Here's the book we were told to get. The history of Halrua. Halrua is a place in the Forgotten Realms. A place that's pretty well known for its magic. The priest's quarters. Let's go in here. I wonder what's going on here.
All right.
Oh, this guy's name is Shank. This probably is going to be an interestingly good interaction. Oh, goody goody. I've gone and found ye first. You're the ward of Gorion, no doubt. Another person asking about me. You know, I was nice to the first one. This guy's kind of like, I don't know about this. I do not recognize you. Who are you and what are you doing here? Who am I? Who I am is unimportant, but who you are is very much so. I apologize for this dirty bit of business, but I must seek your death. A pity, I know, but it would seem your head is worth an exceptional amount to me. I kill you myself, and I need not share credit with anyone. Well, ain't that nice? Well, you know what? For some reason, my weapon did not switch. We appreciate that. I'm gonna shoot this guy in the face. Now, you might be asking, well, why are you running away? Why aren't you just attacking him? Well, the thing is, if you have a bow and arrow, and you have an enemy within melee range of you, and you attack, a couple of problems happen in this version of the game. Later editions of Dungeons & Dragons also deal with this differently, depending on feats that you have. But if you're in melee range, the idea is that you shoot worse, and also it makes you more vulnerable to physical melee attacks, in the sense that it makes it easier for them to hit you. And that also works if you're attacking a ranged enemy and you're up in melee and they're still ranged, you can destroy them pretty hard. Well, as I'm not wanting to be destroyed by Mr. Shank here, I'm going to critical miss by rolling a natural 1 here, which is the saddest day of my life. You know what? Screw it. Enough of playing around. Yeah, take 12 crushing damage from Eckylis. We're looting everything. It's the early part of an RPG. We need all the gold we can get. I don't want you judging me behind there. Behind the screen there. You don't know what I've been through.
All right, all right.
And yet again, another interaction with some guy named Parda. Eckylis, you cut yourself above the brow there. What is wrong, child? Something in your eyes tells me that something is very wrong indeed. I've already been through someone doting over me and being worried. I'm kind of a badass, alright? I'm good without that again. It's nothing, Parda. One of the cats didn't like me petting it. I'm alright, really. Yes, well, get what you need from the end then, for Wherein is desperate for you to be off. Well, okay, we can do that. By this point, we've seen every single one of the tutors, and now, our last quest of the tutorial, Flydia.
Hello there.
Oh, hello. Hey, have you seen my copy of the History of Harua? Well, as it happens, yes. Anywhere? You know how I can't stand the constant shuffling of arthritic feet up in the library, so I thought I'd get a bit of fresh air just east of here, and oh, I hate being so absent-minded. Please, if you find it, I really do need it back. Flydia is an old lady. She happens to be someone who is very absent-minded.
Hello there.
Lucky for her, we are very much sharp of wit indeed. My book! Oh, you remind me of Goriah when you grin like that. Raising you has been hard on him, I know, but he says it's a toil of love, a toil of destiny even. You must be a very special child indeed to draw such praise from a man of his silent nature. Here, take this little gem of mine. Maybe Winthrop will give you a little something for it. And with that, we have finished every quest except for the main one here in the thing. Now, I'm going to return to Winthrop and sell some stuff. I'm rather burdened right now with a rather limited inventory. And again, like weight in this game, a full inventory sucks. And something that alleviates that in the enhanced edition is they actually add stuff like scroll cases, potion cases, arrow cases, and bags of holding. And in my game, I actually have an extra bag of holding that's sellable later on when we get deeper into the game. Those are invaluable and amazing, and for no other reason, really, than to allow you to carry a whole bunch of stuff. Hi, Teth Torol, he tells me again to go to Gorion. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. I do what I want. Finally, at long last, here we are. Mr. Gorion.
Oh, my child.
This is very unnerving, I know, but you must trust me. It is very important that you pack your possessions so that we may leave Candlekeep immediately. Hurry, for there is no time to tarry. Their keep is well protected but not invulnerable. Please, Father, tell me where we will be going. Alas, I cannot, for I have not truly decided yet. All that is certain is that we will be far safer on the move. Perhaps the woods might offer some secluded security, or perhaps the city of Baldur's Gate would offer cover amidst its teeming throngs of people. I do not know where where we shall end up, but I have a few friends here and there. I will think on this. What could possibly harm us here? This place is a fortress, and guarded beyond measure. Don't really think I need to ask that. I think I've learned that. So you know what? I am ready to go right now. And it begins a little cinematic.
Listen carefully. If we ever become separated, it is imperative that you make your way to the Friendly Arm Inn. There you will meet Khalid and Jahira. They have long been my friends, and you can trust them. Let's hurry, child. The night can only get worse, so we must find shelter soon. Don't worry. I will explain everything as soon as there is time. Wait, there is something wrong. We are in an ambush. Prepare yourself.
You're perceptive for an old man. You know why I'm here. Hand over your ward and no one will be hurt. If you resist, it shall be a waste of your life.
You're a fool if you believe I would trust your benevolence. Step aside and you and your lackeys will be unhurt.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, old man.
Get out of here!
Dawn is especially cruel this morning. You awake with the realization that you have not been living some horrible dream. Ambushed, you saw Gorion cut down before your eyes, and even his powerful magic could not stop the onslaught. It was his wish that you flee, but that does not remove the feeling of helplessness that now overwhelms you. Hand over your ward, the armored fiend had said. He was after you and you alone, but why? If only Gorion had given some clue. But now you are alone and lost. Candlekeep is near, but you will find no quarter there. The readers pay for their serenity with rather draconian entry rules, and without Gorion's influence, their doors will remain closed. You will not last long on your own with your meager equipment. Perhaps you can get some help from the friends Gorion mentioned, the ones at the Friendly Arm.
Alright, so a lot just happened in the space of about 5 minutes of gameplay. Your foster father was murdered before you in the dead of night. This supposedly really powerful sage and mage, who's been there for you since as long as you can remember, gone. Now this guy, you might recognize as being part of the introduction of the game. Obviously, he is a very important figure, as we've learned. We are now on the road in the wilderness, and there is one extra person who is luckily here waiting for us, Miss Imowen. Sorry, I followed you, but I never get out of Candlekeep, and those monks are such a bore. Never any decent coin in their pockets, neither. I saw Gorion. I'm so sorry. Kind of figured something bad might happen to you out here. How could you have known? Gorion did not even tell me. I accidentally read a letter on his desk the other day. Can't remember exactly what it said, but he might be on his body. Anyway, I'm not gonna let you wander around out here all alone. Never let a friend down, no sir. Stick with you until you say otherwise, I will. Well, as I said,
You're a queer fellow.
Imowen is a very important person who has incredibly good stats, by the way, for a thief. a really, really high intelligence as well, which will matter later. But she, as said earlier, is is sort of another foster child, about the same age as you, who grew up with you. When asked about her past, Imoen slaps her shoulder playfully. She says that you of all people should know, seeing as how you grew up together. Indeed, some of your fondest memories are of meeting this sprightly young lass. She apparently came to Candlekeep much as you did, though 10 years later in life, and she spent much more time with the gruff Winthrop than Gorion. Puff guts, she would call him, much to the old innkeeper's dismay. She seems the eternal child and is quite content to play the part of little sister, though you are both of comparable ages. You can tell by her hearty smile that she will always be willing to travel with you no matter what path you take. What that is saying in game terms is that if you are an evil bastard or if you're a really good guy, she will stick with you, and as it happens, that is true. You could be down bad, the one reputation Sword Coast slaughterer, and she will stay with you the whole way.
What would you have me do?
She's an interesting character. Her character progression, and indeed a lot of characters that follow you to the next game, it really doesn't start showing up for you until the next game, when dialogue becomes a little bit better written, more voice acted. But still, it's kind of nice whether or not she's very voice acted in this game. That you have her right there with you, and she's a thief. And as I kind of foreshadowed, I mean, she's got like nothing on her. She's got a potion of speed, which acts as basically a potion of haste that lasts for an hour when you have it. Haste is about the single most powerful spell in the entire Baldur's Gate trilogy, aside from very, 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 very powerful stuff much later. But in this game, any level of haste that you get is pretty much game-breaking. She's got no armor. She's got no melee weapon if things get too close to her. We kind of want her to have something. And certainly more than just 40 arrows. Now, normally also something else. In the base game, you can only stack arrows and ammunition up to 80. So you'd have like 3 slots of 80 arrows and then a bunch of arrows laying around. I cannot stress enough how much I hate inventory management. It's super tedious. It's not really fun. You can play the game however you want, but the way I'm going to play the game is I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to stack these infinitely. Potions too, jewelry of the same type, exactly the same way.
Hurry up!
I'm going to do what I want. You can do what you want. You can judge as well, I don't care. So, that is the end of the tutorial. On the road here, outside, 4 hours roughly outside of the walls of Candlekeep, we are alone in an inhospitable big world. And in Baldur's Gate 1, this is indeed a very, very, very big adventure to come. I hope you'll join me on the next part. That is the end of this for today. My name has been Eckylis, and I appreciate any likes, subscribes, any accolades, any critiques that you might have. Thank you for joining me on the beginning of our Fighter Mage Eckylis' journey. Have a good day.